Hey, badass business owners, welcome to the show. Here is where we help you grow your business, but more importantly, grow those profits. Today's going to be a little bit different because I am trying to really finalize where I want to take this show as we move forward. I have been doing this from the start back in September 2016, almost 9 years ago. I started the podcast. It was called something else back in the day, and then it kind of morphed and whatnot. It was kind of funny. My main goal and why I started the podcast was honestly, I had worked in corporate America for 25, almost 30 years, but 25 plus years. And I had decided that I wanted to be a small business owner like yourselves. And what I did is I went and I bought an ice cream shop and I retired, if you will, from corporate America to do this. And one of the things that I noticed when I had the shop was all the different business owners locally that I was interacting with, but also not locally because it was part of a franchise. So I was meeting all these other small business owners that were also trying to run their business. And one of the things that really became apparent to me was how little information people had when it came to understanding their business numbers. When I was in corporate America, it was pounded into me. I mean, I have been doing profit and loss and reading those statements, for almost 40 years now. And, to me, they're second nature. And I understand how important and critical they were for me to grow my business, to grow those sales, but more importantly, like we said, to grow those profits, to create the best business possible. From being a little chipmunk, if you will, running these departments and then eventually stores and then eventually districts and regions and being part of all of those, the numbers were what really helped us grow and gain momentum. So when I was purchasing my business, one of the very first things I dove into before I made any decision were the business numbers. And those were critical to me. And what I found was there are all kinds of stuff that I could dive into to help make this business more profitable. There was a lot of money that was being left on the table, a lot of commingling of things that he had going on, all these different things. So when I bought the business, I was like, I'm going to take this business knowledge and use it to my advantage to run the business. And, for those of you that have followed the story, I did this actually in 2008. And we all know what happened in 2008. Everything tanked, and it created this whole nightmare, this whole mess. I'm not here to rehash all of that, but my point is that for the last 9 years, as it went from the podcast to eventually, putting it on YouTube, and at first it was just in audio form, and then eventually I got in front of the camera like I am now. Every week it was, how can I help people? How can I help people? And I remember when one day I just got on here and said, hey, badass business owners, how many people started resonating with that and realizing that, they are out there busting their butt trying to become it. Because I mean it. You guys are badass business owners. You are getting out there and trying to kill it and drag it home back to the cave and make things happen. And that's not easy. For many of you, you could work way less hours and make way more money working for someone else, but you've chosen to be a business owner and to grow that business and to do the things that you want to do. So each week I showed up. I made it a commitment to myself and to you that I was going to show up every single week like clockwork. And for the most part, other than some medical issues in my family where I had to go be somewhere else, for the most part, I have done this is like 640 episodes later or something like that. I forget what the number is. So that's a lot of episodes over those years. And it's hard because I have to fight. Sometimes I'll talk about the same thing. And then I realize that everybody's first time to an episode is different and they haven't heard the whole 600, whatever the case may be. And then once I started doing YouTube looks at something differently than what the podcast does and all these other things. So, sometimes it's been a struggle on that. But the further I get into this and the more coaching that I do with people and the more I look at people's books and the more that I really dive into what people need, what I've realized is I can continue to throw out all kinds of stuff out there to help you run your business. But where I feel I'm making the biggest difference is in two parts. One, helping you believe in yourself and what it is that you can accomplish. And the second part is really helping to break down business numbers to make them nice and simple and easy to understand and to realize that you don't have to be some math whiz, you don't have to be some math lover to use your business numbers to improve your business, to grow those sales and to grow those profits. It's just, you really just need to understand the story that those numbers are telling you, because it's the story behind the numbers that are important. For example, if you have an expense or something that's $500, $500, $500, $3,000, $500, it doesn't take a rocket science that if you're looking at it, why did that go from this to way up there and back down? What happened during that time frame? So once again, it wasn't about the number per se, other than the fact that you knew 3,000 was higher than 500, and what should I do with it? So as I sit here and I try to figure out, where do I want to go? What direction do I want to go? I've realized that I want to spend even more time creating content that really helps you understand those business numbers. And in order to do that, I've got to kind of pull back a little bit from talking about everything else, because I'm going in so many different directions between my own businesses that I have and doing this. I just feel like I'm not making the traction. And if I'm going to sit here and preach to you that you need to pick something in your business and run with it and become very successful and become known for that, then I've got to start listening to my own advice and just say, you know what, Tammy, if this is the part you love to do and this is the part you love helping people understand, then you need to go all in on helping people understand those business numbers. And as much as you want to help them with everything else, you just can't do that. That's what I want to be able to do. I want to be that person you come to because you want to understand those business numbers. There's so many different gurus that are out there and so many different people that can tell you how to run a great business and what they would do and what they have done and whatnot. It's not like there's a lack of resources for that. But I do feel there's a lack of resources for the entry-level understanding of those business numbers. A lot of you listen to other podcasts or other channels where they're talking very high-end. You're just a solo person doing things on your own. You might hire a subcontractor here or there, but yet you're listening to these podcasts and these videos where they're talking about their acquisition numbers and their hiring and this and that, and that's way further along in where you are. I just want you to understand what a P&L is and how to read a P&L and how to look for things. I want you to understand that why you need a balance sheet and why you need to understand what that's telling you. And I realized that that's somewhere I can make a really big difference for a lot of people, especially for those that are new getting into understanding their business numbers. And if I'm doing it correctly, you outgrow me. You start saying, I understand these so well, I can now move on to that next level and to those higher things of what I'm trying to do. And, the more I've thought about it, the more I realize that I've got to make some tweaks and some changes. I'm not fully there yet. I'm really not. I'm in the beginning stages of carving out what that looks like. So you may not get as much content over the next couple of weeks as I work through this and try to figure out what's the best way to do it. And this is where you come in. I need to hear from you as far as when you're thinking about those business numbers and the things that are going to help you, or the areas that you really want to understand and you just don't, the things that you need to be made simplified so that you can really understand them. You know what? Hit those comments, go to the YouTube channel, put them down there, tell me what it is, email me at tammy@babolearning.com. That's also in the show notes. I want you to use me as a tool, if you will, in your toolbox to help you understand those business numbers better. And you're going to see some changes, and I don't know what that's finally going to look like. I haven't fully worked that out. I'm sharing this prematurely, mainly because, last week I didn't have an episode, if you noticed. And it wasn't because I didn't want to. It was just like, what am I going to talk about that lines with where I think I'm going? And, when I think about it, I want to create more videos that walk you slowly through things, and not just getting on here and do a talking head like a lot of people do or whatnot. But then also I'm trying to figure out, how do I find that medium where it works not just on YouTube, but it also works on a podcast for people that still want to learn. And maybe it's a companion piece. You can listen on YouTube and then you can go watch the video to see the visual parts of it. Those are the things that I'm kind of working out. as far as what I want it to look like. So bear with me. If you've been with me for a while, don't go anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. Okay. I'm just trying to figure out how I'm going to tweak and change this a little bit to be able to be more aligned with what my mission is and what I feel, where I feel I offer the most to you, the business owner. I've talked to a ton of you guys over the years, and I just started really thinking about where people really make the difference, and what's those things that are the most common with all of them, and how can I help give that to you in better ways. I mean, even the old stuff is good. That's what's great about evergreen stuff. It's going to work for you no matter when you come across this content. But at the same time is, how can I make it even better and to be able to help you out, especially in these crazy, challenging times that a lot of businesses are running into. If you think about the last 5 years between COVID and then what's going on right now with the tariffs and everything else, everybody's being impacted differently. People that weren't impacted, during COVID, some people took off and other people shrank and their business almost folded. And then now you've got kind of the opposite happening with some other different people. It's just crazy, the whole thing. But if you have a good, solid understanding of your business numbers and how to use them and how to look at your numbers, not only today, but, how do you compare against the past? What did you do in the future? And what do you need to do now to be even more successful in the future? I mean, there's so many ways to link those numbers together, nice and simple, that I just want to make the difference. And since I know that I can hear myself, that I feel like I'm starting to rattle, I'm going to go ahead and lock this up right now. But just know I'm not going anywhere. You're going to continue to get content, but just know that I'm going to continue to focus more and more on helping you understand those business numbers, because that's really where I want to go. And I want to do a lot more visuals. I don't want to just sit here and talk about the numbers. I want to show you the numbers and I want to show you what to do. Those take a little bit more time. So it might be something where it's every other week. I don't know. Just trying to figure out what's the best way for me to deliver this to you. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Don't go anywhere. And if you're new, subscribe, hang out with us, learn those business numbers even better. And that's my goal, because you guys are badass business owners. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. You keep kicking ass and I will continue to be here to help you and give you the stuff that you need. All right. With that, I'm out of here. Bye for now.